Yo, my peoples, what's up? Jason here with a coda, a little video that I'm pinning on to the end of my 5-part series of reflections on content creation. Thank you so much to everybody who watched, either if it was all 5 videos or one video of interest to them, and they engaged and they comment, they reached out to me, etc. That was really valuable to get a lot of people's feedback, and I really appreciate it. So I want to do a quick video to isolate what I thought were some of the through lines that I had in some of my discussions, and then that's it. At least in terms of my explicit videos and shelf stories, and then I'll continue engaging, whether in interviews or dialogues or whatever. Anyway, so first thing was making it clear, and I don't know if I made this clear enough in the videos, that for the most part I was talking specifically about reviewers and people who do content they call review. That seems to be the fraughtness. That seems to be the kind of up and down. What is a review? All this kind of stuff. And that's going to be the second part of this little reflection. There's a whole lot of other content creators. There are tutorials, watch it plays, and live plays, and miniature painting, and person on the street interviews, convention coverage, news. There's all these ways in which we can cover our hobby. And to me, I kind of put that under the broad umbrella of an enthusiast, just an enthusiast. Folks who have joyful goals, whether it's spreading the hobby or whether it's entertaining or whether it's, just kind of celebrating their own curiosity. There's a whole bunch of ways in which we can express all that. I kind of put it all under one umbrella. I don't know if I did enough to distinguish that from an enthusiast reviewer, which, if you watch the videos, I identified the enthusiast reviewer as a matchmaker, matching audience members to game. That's a very specific thing. And it doesn't apply, the stuff that I said about the enthusiast reviewer doesn't necessarily apply to the broader sweep of creators. So I wanted to put that out there to make very, very clear what I'm talking about. It's about reviews. Although I will put one little caveat in there because, why are reviews important? Reviews are a relationship. Reviews are a means of influencing people. And it's that influence that we're really trying to figure out. So there's lots of ways to have that influence on an audience member, whether it's, do this thing we call review or not. The way we curate our channels, the games that we show, people kind of get cues from that. Or even something like a top list, an end of year list, that can be very influential on people. I was on a Zoom call with some publishers, and one of them mentioned that the year-end top list, where people are really paying attention, they noticed a bump in sales. So this isn't like anything that we may want. We may not want the burden of saying, don't listen to us. We're just putting out our joy, and it's up to you whether you buy a game. That's totally true, but it is influence. So where there is influence, if as creators, if people are watching our channels are going, okay, we bought something, we played something because of something that was on our channel, then it might be worth looking at your relationships. Are we curating our channels in the proper way? Are we disclosing? Are we being very open with the audience? And so these are not meant to be like hard and fast rules, except for the disclosure thing. Disclosure thing's pretty hard and fast. That's like FTC stuff. But beyond that, just to, again, no hard and fast rules, to invite people to think about the impact they're having with their content, whether they call it a review or not. So that's number one. Number two is where a lot of the conversation went. And I probably should have teased this out and made this more of a central point, so I'm going to do so now. The definition of a review. What is a review? That is up for debate. So all the different places that I posted the videos, my thoughts, different people had different opinions about what is a review, and therefore what is a reviewer. So there were some folks who were very much on the side of, okay, a review is there to help the audience, the consumer, make an informed opinion about their game purchase. There it is, period, point blank in the story. No spread and joy, no growing a hobby. This is a consumer service to people, and that's fulfilling for that person because they've helped somebody, and it's always good to help somebody, and they're playing games, and so they do get something out of it. But that's the service, right? That is a consumer service to inform the purchaser. And anything kind of beyond that is stretching the definition of review to something that they might not recognize. Then you have what I presented, which is that enthusiast reviewer. The former is like the critical reviewer, more like it. The enthusiast reviewer is, I think, a lot more open with the term review. It's basically anytime we share our thoughts and opinions about a game, like we're open about ourselves and putting ourselves out there in terms of a thought. And that could be anything from like a Yelp review, which is one sentence, but we call it a review, to the whole spectrum. So that's my definition of review when I use it for myself, nice and wide, but there are boundaries because you do have to share your thoughts and opinions, and there needs to be like a why to it. I talked about that in the video, but that's the key. Is it narrow towards the consumer end of things, or is it wide of like relationship building, thoughts and feelings? And I didn't talk about this on the show. There's another voice, the publisher. How do they define review? In my experience, they don't define review. It's all coverage. And when they hand out a review copy, they're not specifying, okay, do this for a review, do this for a play, etc. At least a lot of them. Some of them just use the word review as synonymous with coverage. And that is a problem that probably needs to be addressed as well. And that's beyond the scope of this video, but just kind of putting it out there. And I'll give an example. So I requested a game from a publisher. They sent it. And I specifically said, this is for a playthrough. No review, playthrough. Did the playthrough, sent it back, and said, okay, does anybody want to take a look at this in case there's a rules error? Some publishers like that, some designers like that. And the person responded to me, we don't worry about whatever you said in the review, just post the content and you're fine. It's not a review. It's just a playthrough. So I mentioned that because I think, there's that tendency to want to kind of separate review coverage from non-review coverage. But for a lot of publishers and the way they speak, there's no separation. It's all marketing to them. Another separate conversation, there was a publisher that said, they want to separate their review content from the marketing content in this. And one response was, oh, you separate those things? Yeah. So we have a long way to go. And that's part of why I made the video series. So here at the end, if this video series did one thing, it's to highlight the importance of words, what we mean when we say these words, especially that one word review. It took me 5 videos to cover that whole thing. And it's funny to say that, but like a lot of our arguments turn on a word, especially in this cultural fandom space. So you're in music, what is rock music? Is this person rock music? Is that person rock music? Okay, that's not rock, that's rock. Who's the greatest guitarist? It's Prince. Well, Prince is not a real guitarist, and then he's not a rock guitarist, he's a pop guitarist. And that you go back and forth and you argue depending on your definition of what you're talking about. Different definitions can just make the conversation go sideways. I'm a big baseball fan, Baseball Hall of Fame. Is it a shrine? In which case you keep the cheaters out because a shrine should be pure and should be, fraternity of worthy people? Or is it a museum? In which case, let them all in and let the story be told, the cheaters and everybody else. Go on down the line. It's so many of the arguments that we get into are about just, everybody comes at it with a different definition of the basic thing you're talking about, and then it's just like, back and forth. So that's why I did the videos the way I did. Talking about multiple definitions and inviting people when you're talking and when you're engaging in discussion, what are your presuppositions? What are you coming with? And is the person you're talking to coming at it with a different definition? And at the end of the day, it's valid. There's no one right definition of this stuff as much as we want there to be. And maybe it's healthier if we kind of restricted the definition of review in this case, but it's not happening right now. So I think conversation would go better if we acknowledged that we think differently. We have different presuppositions, and then we go from there. So if this series did anything, I would like it to have done that. So that's it. That's all I got to say. Check with me in the comments. Check with me in DMs like people have been doing. And away we go. Let's talk about it. What is your definition of a review? We'd love to hear from you. If you can change your mind, change the world, people. So until next time, everybody.